All right, guys, welcome back to the Substitutes. We're doing a Euros edition now, and we've just finished the group stages of the Euros. Joining me today is Majid. How you doing, man?
What's up, man? How are you?
Yeah, good, man. It's quite late here in Singapore, so it's 5:30 a.m., so we just finished. Sorry.
Enjoy the Euros, bro.
I
It's
know, man.
perfect here. It's exactly 12 hours opposite, 5:30 in the evening. All the games are done. It's been exciting. It's been cool. Like, let's get to it.
It's just a month has been crazy. So we had Roland Garros before this. Now we have the Euros. Wimbledon is starting up, so it's just a crazy summer of sport. And so looking at the Euros now, which is first off, it's really good to see fans back in. Like it started late last season and you had fans coming back in, but now you see it full-fledged in the tournament and we kind of like that it's all across Europe. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. In fact, like in some places, it's there's still like 25% capacity. In places like Hungary, it's full. It's just like back to normal, if you will. Very nice to see. Very, very nice to see.
And I was watching this interview. This guy from Portugal was talking about it. And he was just saying that, look, like it's so weird, like, like it's all across Europe and all these like, and it's in his hometown as well. So he's like, it's really, really cool that after a whole maybe year and a half of COVID, like this is actually happening. So that's pretty cool. Um, so let's just actually dive right into it.
Yeah, yeah. Let's get
Shall we
to it.
go? Let's go through the groups actually. So we'll start off with Group A. And topping it is Italy. So who has impressed you besides the obvious Italy, 3 wins from three? Um, what about them has impressed you?
Italy is intriguing. It's their first generation it's their first new generation, so I expect them to do pretty decently. I don't know. They have the potential to win it, but because it's their first generation, I think it might like they're one generation, like one tournament away. So they'll do well quarterfinals, semifinals. There'll be maybe a heartbreak, but they'll learn from that. And the next tournament, they look really, really dangerous. They look really dangerous right now, and they could do a lot of damage. But I do think it's a new generation. So this tournament is the same thing that happened to France in Euro 2016. It's happened to Spain like in 2014. Like that new generation has to go through like a difficult tournament, lose, get through, progress, but lose, and then that next tournament they're really thinky. But Italy looks scary regardless.
So it's interesting because Mancini came in and he basically abandoned all the principles that he's just like, I'm not going defensive. I think it's 4-3-3. And he's just like, look, I'm going to play a bit more attacking. I saw an article also saying that, he's trying to emulate Klopp at Liverpool. And it's showing in their attacking play. Like, I've not seen Italy like this before. They've, what, 3-0 first game, and then 3-0 against Switzerland, I believe it was, and then beat Wales 1-0. So I think personally that's very, very impressive. So maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, but they're definitely a team to look to in this tournament. Like they're an exciting team to watch.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
If nothing else, thankfully they're scoring goals. They are not the old Italy of old. Like definitely
yeah, we
from that
just
point.
shut up shop after a goal. Not really a fan, but it's a way to win. Um, I mean, other talking points in the group, Turkey kind of crashed and burned. Um, Wales. Like I'm not really sure like what else you can say about Wales. Like I know that I don't know. Like I haven't seen I didn't see anything really exciting about Wales. So it'd be interesting to see how they progress through. Um, talk to me about Belgium now. We're moving on to Group B.
By the way, Turkey for me was the most disappointing team of the tournament. It's not that they got lost all three, it's how they lost all three. They were supposedly had a defensive identity and were supposed to be relative rocks. They had gone through qualifiers with a defensive persona and had done pretty well. And for them to the goal difference right there, -7, is
It's bad.
atrocious. And I know it's 3-0 Italy. That first game set the trend. But anyways, Group B.
Good luck.
Belgium, very good, very, very good. In fact, they're one of my few teams that have been just solid. They look like they're supposed to be there. You know, they're not underwhelmed, they're not overwhelmed, they're just going about business.
So I there's quite a lot to talk about in Group B. Um, First off, when you look at Belgium and their first game, when they played Russia, Russia were quite disappointing. They finished last in their group. Um, Belgium just looked really, really solid. Like this team has been coming on the up for quite a few years now, and I think it's culminating in this run. And I think I can't remember their position in the last World Cup, but I think they did quite well. And they've got some quality players there. So do you think they can go far in this tournament, potentially win it?
They should win it. They are contenders. They're number one ranked team in FIFA. They should like this is the golden generation, and this is either one tournament even too far from sort of the peak of their golden generation, but that's not a bad thing. They should win it. They are favorites. They are one of the early favorites. They should have been at the beginning, and they proved it right now. Denmark for
Yeah,
me is very inspiring. Sorry, like
I'm so
Belgium
happy.
is just like for me
Yeah,
they are a team to watch, and we'll talk about them as we talk about the rounds of 16. Like they've gone about business. They're solid.
agreed. Now Denmark, like you said, it is the story of the tournament. I think everyone is supporting them. I actually wrote them off. I didn't think that they were going to go through. But thankfully, Finland and Russia weren't good as well. So, I mean, did you watch the incident with Ericsson?
Unfortunately, I did. It's very
Yeah.
scary, very, very scary. And I just want to say, like, UEFA, FIFA, maybe they should have a protocol for this kind of thing. Like, I guess it's time for like something to be there.
Well, it happened on. I'm not sure if this has ever happened on an international stage before. Like, I've never seen a player. Like, I've seen players get injured. I think there was a US 1994 World Cup where I think it was a Brazilian player got knocked in the face, or could have been the other way around. But like, that's the only time you saw like a really bad injury for me anyway on the international stage. So to see someone have cardiac arrest is, I personally thought I liked the way the commentator handled it. He didn't want to speculate, but thought I feared the worst, honestly. So to see him come back, and I know they lost their next game. They lost that game, which shouldn't have even gone ahead, really. Like they should have played it another day.
Well, that's
And
what
the
I
way
mean
that,
by the protocol. That's what I
mm,
mean is they should like at this point, I guess, it's a learning experience for all of us that like there should be some uh, schedule wise and just how to deal with it, I guess.
well,
Like it is a teachable moment or learning moment, either
it
one.
is, it is, but I just didn't like the way that they came about and said, "Oh, Denmark wanted to come back and play," and
It's
they agreed to
FIFA,
it.
UEFA, it's football, bro. Like at this point, like we should be used to it. I'm not surprised at the crassness.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's a fair point, but still, like it's embarrassing. Anyway, look, I'm glad they went through. Belgium looked really good. I'm rooting for Denmark. So let's see where it goes. Moving on to Group C. Now, well, talk to me about Group C. What did you make of the Netherlands?
The Netherlands is the Netherlands, is Holland is Holland. I like every tournament they are the most interesting and intriguing team. Just their talent is there, everything is there, but the results are never there. And this is another, I feel like those three wins are the perfect foundation for exactly that. Like they're very intriguing, but they also seem kind of dysfunctional because like sure there's three ticks there, the three W's, but that Ukraine game 3-2, they almost blew like the lead twice. um so Netherlands for me is always intriguing, but they're also always disappointing, so I'm just waiting for them to like crash back down to earth.
I think they won they won the Euros in 1988, but they never really win much on the international stage. Like
Yeah,
they
well,
go well, they have they have great teams, but they never really perform.
like
So
Johan Cruyff better have won something, if not the World Cup. The Euros sort of, it's good, it's amazing, but like Johan Cruyff and just the history of Dutch football, they have had World Cup potential.
amazing play. Yep, I agree. But
They've always disappointed, mostly disappointed in the major tournaments.
yeah, that's true actually. But they reached the semifinals under Van Gaal. If I'm not mistaken, they went pretty far under Van Gaal a few years
I think
before
they
Van
even
Gaal went to
reached
United.
the
They
final.
reached the final. They reached the final.
Robin,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah, that's right. The young kung fu kick to I think it was Xabi Alonso.
exactly.
That was and he wasn't even sent off for that. Now the next one that we need to talk about. Anything else about Group C, by the way?
Shout out to Pandev, North Macedonia, Ukraine. Shout out to Shevchenko, and Austria has been very plucky and quite cool. If they had one, they're like one superstar away from being like a really solid team. The way Switzerland was, 4, 5, 6 years ago with like Shakiri and Xhaka and whoever, like they had a mini thing. Austria is kind of like that. They're one superstar away from being that kind of team, but they are plucky and they're cool.
All right. Now on to my favorite group. Because the question I need to ask, and it's funny I'm saying this because they topped the group, is why do England suck?
Bro, they
They
don't.
don't. They don't. I know. Look, it's just funny that already I'm seeing footballs coming home, and now they're playing against Germany. Like,
Yeah, yeah. They it's constant in the stands. It's always there, and it's always like, guys, like, okay, I get it, but they're so underwhelming. It's because like there's such a big disconnect between their individual talent and then what you actually the product you see on match day. And it's every single time. Like there is that cycle, match day cycle, where like you watch the game, you're underwhelmed, then the hype machine starts, then you start thinking about like Sancho and Bellingham and Grealish, and then
Rashford.
Southgate releases his team lineup, the formations, and you look
But
at it and you're just like,
but
really
also as well,
again?
did you know there were leaks? I think there were leaks
Yeah.
because
Within like 5 minutes of like,
and it's crazy that that's happening. Like you can't have that, especially on an international stage. You can't have your teams being leaked out. Look, there are positives for England. Clean sheets in all their games. They won 1-0 against in their last game. Sorry, it was a Czech Republic. Yeah, against Czech Republic. They played some good football in the first half. But like it's, I mean,
in that
with
first 10 minutes, they played some like Sterling had a decent chance in like the
yeah, he
second
hit
or third
the
the
yeah he
second
lobbed
third
the
minute, that lob, and then they scored, and then they just sort of sat back. My issue with England is they're like just so underwhelming. They're not gonna lose, but they're not gonna win either, in the sense that like when as they progress through the tournament and play teams, the offensive firepower of the other teams, at some point you're going to have to score goals. You will give up goals and you will have to score goals. And England just don't, they have the individual firepower, they just don't, as a unit, it doesn't seem to there is tactical, like, again, it's practical
quick.
winning.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
practical
Like
winning, but it's just like meh.
I didn't. I think. Look, the thing about England is that it's always the case. We say this on paper they have a great side, and they do have a really really good side when you think about it. They have so much strength and depth. They have a great forward line, solid defense. Not the most amazing, but a solid defense. I just don't know if. And look, I don't know whether I'm rooting for them or not. I never know with them. It's kind of fun to watch them. It's also fun to watch them lose. Like it's just because football's coming home and you kind of hopes of a nation, and then when they lose, you just kind of laugh at them. You're just like, yeah, you're still crap. But I honestly thought Croatia looked much better. Um, and I know they played really well in their last game, like they finally turned on the style. But yeah, I mean, you compare England to Croatia, and especially in that last game, you saw a huge difference.
Uh,
Um,
Can we go back to the first game for Croatia? They looked so anemic against England. When they opened the tournament, it looked like, I don't know,
mhm.
I was very weirded out not by England, but by Croatia and how just bland and flavorless they seemed. I don't know, they've got names. It's not like they don't have anybody. Perisic, Modric, it's Yani, it's
Yeah,
nation.
it's look, I it's hard to say. There's a lot of teams that have started bland. Like, for example, I mean, look, we're gonna get to a lot of these other teams, but I'd say
Let's
Spain, for example. Yeah, so but we'll get to that.
shout
But
out
like,
shout out to Scotland for drawing with England at Wembley. Shout out. Well done, well done. Maybe
no,
winning next time, but it's all good.
that's could I say that I have something a little something a little bit controversial today? I thought they weren't so bad. I know the results are horrible, but they
It's
had
Scot
chances.
it's Scotland at major tournaments. They're just cursed, bro. It's just
They
like until they get independence from England, their footballing results will follow them like this.
Did you ever there's a really funny story that came out of like 50 most shocking World Cup moments. It was a thing in England at the time. And one of them was the Scotland like theme song for one of the events that they went to. I think it
I
was a
know
World
what you're
Cup or
talking
Euros.
about.
And so just don't come home too soon. Like and they had the players in the video, and the guy, the band who was doing it, the singer, he's just like all of them looked like they wanted to punch me in the face because he was just singing "Just Don't Come Home Too Soon." That was their song. Like,
Like the lowest of the low expectations. Just set expectations low, guys. And they still
like
couldn't match that. I think they left in the first in the group stages.
they crashed out of the group stage. Look, the thing is though that I personally thought like against England they had chances. Um, I arguably would say they were the better side. They had more clear-cut chances. And against Croatia, I know Croatia turned on the style. You saw Modric. I mean, the guy's 35 and he still plays. Like he plays so elegantly. He's one of the finest midfielders of his generation. But that being said, Scotland had a few chances. They had chances to win, potentially equalize as well. But unfortunately, they're going home too soon. Um, which
Yeah,
is like
yeah, yeah.
um now we're moving on to a great group. Let's say a great group. Sweden and Spain. Sweden looks solid, very, very solid. Um, I mean, I watched them beat Poland in the last few minutes. That was quite fun to watch. That was a fun game. At the same time,
Just as
Spain were
Poland was like, just as Poland came back from 2-0, suddenly
yep,
Spain countered the counter. Like it was very good to see.
it was, and it was a good group in a way because at some point you were just thinking Poland might have a chance to come through if they score, but then Sweden actually put the nail in the coffin. They scored the goal. Like I thought they were quite impressive. Poland obviously they finished bottom of the group, but good fight back in the final game. They almost pulled it out of the bag really, and they could have done. It's interesting to see Spain though. Um, Spain first. Okay, actually, we'll talk about Slovakia first. You saw their first game against Sweden.
No,
Okay, so it was actually a pretty tight game against Sweden. But they lost 1-0. But in the first half, they played really well. Sweden were very defensive. They were very solid. Like Sweden is just based on they have an excellent defense. I don't know what it is, but Lindelof on the international stage looks excellent.
yeah,
Yeah, like it looks like a world-class
Pogba.
defense. Yeah,
Pogba remix. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But so Slovakia looked good, but then they kind of fell off. They could have actually gone through the group as well, but they fell off. Spain, when you get to Spain, they had a bit of an up and down tournament, if you recall, with Busquets.
Yep.
Uh, then testing positive for COVID, so he came back today, and he was at his diving best. God, the guy is just insane. But Spain, they drew their first two games. Morata missed quite a few chances, and the fans were getting on his back. And today they turned on the style. They thrashed Slovakia. Do you think they
Yep.
have a chance in this tournament?
They're one of these confusing teams that, the first two games I saw them, I said, I don't know who these guys are, and I don't think they know who they are. But then, I don't know, 5-0 against Slovakia is still not like
It's Slovakia.
it's a good momentum shifter, but it's not like I'm not convinced yet. You need to beat somebody of quality. It's the same thing with England. You can have 3 wins out of 3, but you need to beat someone of quality.
Well, we're coming up to that with the round of 16. But before we
Yeah.
go on to that, Group F, which was the group of death, and it just finished. That was a crazy group, man. I actually didn't know the standing properly until just now. I thought Portugal were second, but no, Germany went through.
Shout out to Hungary.
Germany, yeah,
First
they were
thing is
excellent.
shout out to Hungary. These guys, this is the most unfortunate. They have played 270 minutes of football. 5 of it was really bad, and they let in 3 goals. Other than that, against France, against Germany, this is amazing what they did. Really, really. 2 draws, like the 3-0 again hurts, but it's a very contextual 3-0. It
Mhm.
was 0-0 until 85th minute, and then Ronaldo's there, and he does what Ronaldo does.
Well, did you see them with their fans? I found that pretty
Yep,
awesome.
yep.
Like right at the end, I know like a lot of teams do that, but they were just chanting with their fans. There was a real camaraderie about it.
These like salt of the earth teams, Hungary, Iceland, like they're always
from
fan
the
favorites.
I know, like it was really nice to see, and they had a good tournament. They can go. What was it? The commentator said it was a glorious failure for Hungary. Like they played
Yeah,
with pride.
yeah,
They played
yeah.
with pride. I agree with that. France obviously topped the group. They had a very impressive first game against Germany where they won 1-0. Uh, Pogba immense in that game, as normally is on the international stage with France. A big game player on the world stage, you've got to give him that at the very least. Then they drew with Hungary, which was a tough game, and then this game today with Portugal. That was insane. 3 penalties, potentially four if Bruno Fernandez would have been like penalized in the final few minutes. Um, that was a really good game. Um, they look scary. Shaky at the back with Lloris. The guy, um, the guy hasn't been himself for a few years, but the rest of the team look good. Mbappe is very dangerous, dives a lot pretty well. To win penalties. Look, they're a good squad. They're definitely. I don't know if I would say they're favorites yet, but they might turn on the style later on in the tournament. At least they're through.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think with them, they seem disinterested in a decent sort of manner, in the sense that they know that they're feeling the tournament out still. They got
Hmm.
that win. They got that first win early. They got through to the round of 16 before the last game ever began. And
Yeah,
because of that, they mentally were complacent. Physically, they were decent, but I think they can turn it on. They're one of those weird teams that can turn it on when they want.
I agree.
Germany, Portugal, both of these teams suddenly, the jury's out still on them. I feel like I don't
I
know what to expect still.
it's very hard to tell because Germany were not great in the first game against France, and against Portugal, you saw what they did. Like they dismantled them. You say that? Okay, yes, they did. They scored 4 goals against them, but there was a period as well where Portugal came back into the game. And it was a bit nervy before Germany finished it off. And today against Hungary, I mean, all the only real major talking point or real positive that I would say about Germany is you can look at Havertz and say that kid's the real deal. Um, he's done really, really well considering he had a very terrible start for Chelsea from COVID, and now he's performing on the international stage. I mean, Germany could have won the game. They had their chances. Hummels hit the post with a header. Havertz flashed the ball across goal and just needed a tap in. But again, I just felt they were a bit abject and wondering if this team is at the end of its cycle. Like
Yeah.
with Low as well. I know he's going out, and I know there are some young players in Germany with the German team, but I feel like they need a change
Well,
from the ground up.
that's where the mismatch is. You have an old coach with new players, and maybe that hasn't necessarily worked out. Ghana, Ozil, Khedira, all of these, the Schweinsteigers of the world, they're all gone. He won with them. He did his job, but it's been an interesting recent couple of years in German in national football, international football. Um, I don't know who they are. Germany, Portugal's been found out. They're defensively, they've been found out. They have all the attacking firepower, although Bruno
Yes,
Fernandes has not been very solid, in my opinion. He's actually been
for a
kind
few
of meh.
months now. For a few
Yeah,
months now,
yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah.
He's burnt out. He's played over 80 games.
And I
Like
think
he's
in
played.
general, in general, you can see that players just are around the sprinkle. You can see that they're burnt out players. You can see their tired bodies.
Well, they've been put through the ringer, and people will always say that yeah, they're paid millions of dollars, let them do it, but they're human. Their body can only take so much. So it look, I've been saying this for a few months now. Like, I've had conversations with you offline. I think that Fernandez is burnt out. His numbers are insane, but his like there are performances he does against Leeds, for example, against Everton, where he's brilliant. And then there's performances against Wolves, for example, like on New Year's Day, where he does absolutely nothing. None of his long balls or passes are coming off. And in the final minute, he'll produce a pass for Rashford, and Rashford scores off a deflection. And that's an assist. And like he keeps trying until something comes up. That's how it is. But I mean, he looked lively today when he came on, but also as well, he was a bit rash in his final challenge. He gave the ball away a couple of times. He lost the ball. This is part and parcel of his game. But I think he needs to be a bit more effective. Um, because right now he's both an asset and a liability.
Yep.
Um,
And I'll
so
say, by the way, for Portugal, Renato Sanchez and Bernardo Silva, they've actually been pretty decent. They're
yep.
going forward. They're not that great going backwards, but like moving forwards, they've been pretty. Renato Sanchez, especially with his speed, is kind of fun to watch. It's always fun to
Mhm.
watch.
Well, like you said, they have a great attacking lineup. So they're a fun. They're definitely on paper they look a stronger squad than when they won it in 2016.
Yeah,
Like
I
they
agree.
look
Yeah.
like they look like a stronger squad. But look, that was kind of like a miracle tournament for them. Like they were a good side, but you wouldn't have pegged them to win it, but they did. So now they are champions and they are through. So good for them. I hope they go far into the tournament at the very least. And of course, to all the Ronaldo haters, he's now tied with the most international goals in history. And grand for him, man. I mean, wherever you place him in the debate with Messi and in the all-time greats, you can't take away from the fact that the guy is one of the all-time greats. He's a brilliant footballer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, with the Euro, that whole like Messi, Ronaldo, you do the club comparison and then you do the international comparison, and um, for some people, there's definitely like Ronaldo has nothing to prove. Once you win the Euro, one of these Euro or World Cup, You don't have to prove anything anymore. And he did that. Messi, on the other hand, some will argue still has not proved himself on the international stage as well as Barca. But anyways, let's
Uh,
move on to that's a whole different conversation. Let's move on to the round of 16 and let's see what's happening going forward.
some awesome games, some really really cool games. So shall we talk? Okay, look, we've got Wales and Denmark, and I really really hope Denmark go through. That's all I can say about that. Like, I really want them to win, to be honest. I mean, but there are some other crunch clashes. Like you've got Belgium and Portugal. That's a big one. That should be a really fun game to watch.
Yep,
Um,
Belgium Portugal will be a lot of fun. That's a big one. That one's a
and you,
big one, and that's like Belgium's first test immediately there.
exactly what
Like,
you said.
yeah, and Portugal. I think in this clash, there's more pressure on Belgium. Personally, I would feel there's more on Belgium than Portugal.
Yeah, agreed. I do you think that who do you think's gonna win though? Like, do you have a prediction there?
I want to predict Belgium, but Portugal has somehow, like for the last couple of years, they always defy the
The
odds.
odds.
They come through at the end. So I'm gonna go with Portugal, but I do think Belgium has a very solid chance. Portugal for the upset. I'll just say that way.
Um, I'm gonna go with Belgium. I just think that Portugal haven't looked so convincing. I think that they could have been knocked out of this tournament easily, actually. And they're through because they do have some great attacking players. They've got Ronaldo. But I still think on paper, Belgium have a side that could go all the way on paper. Um, Netherlands and Czech Republic. Again, this is going to be one of those things like you mentioned. You never know in Netherlands. I wouldn't be surprised if they get knocked out. Um,
This is one of those I would like genuinely I want to pick the upset again here because
I'm gonna go with the same.
I can't trust Holland. I can't and countries these C countries, Croatia, Czech Republic, they also have a history of being upstarts sometimes. Like when they get rolling, they get Croatia went to the finals last World Cup. Czech Republic has a very solid history in the Euros. They're not, nobodies. So I would pick the upset here again. Like this is exactly the kind of tie that Netherlands, the Holland, whatever, the Orange has historically tripped over.
Lost.
Yes.
Agreed. I'm actually going the same. I think Czech Republic are gonna lose. Sorry, Czech Republic are gonna win. I don't think the Netherlands is gonna come out. I'd be surprised if they do. Kind of hope they do, but yeah, I just feel that this is the type of thing where you look at the Netherlands and go, then again, they're like another England. Um,
Italy,
Italy, look,
Austria, yeah.
Italy, Austria. I'm putting Italy for it. Look, I think they've got a very exciting side. Um, they, but I think they'll go far. I think they'll make it quarter semi, but I don't think that they'll go further than that. I think you're right about that. I do think that they're a really good side to watch, though. So definitely a team for the future. Um, then we've got some. Actually, the rest of the clashes look really good, by the way. Croatia, Spain. So you've got a really fine team in Croatia going against Spain, and this is what you talked about. This is their first real test. They came out of the group. They won against Slovakia 5-0, but playing against Croatia, that's a different animal right there.
Well, I think this is a good tie for both of them because whoever survives needs to wake up, and this would have been the alarm. Yenny, what I mean is Croatia has again for that England tie, they were very just they just walked through the entire thing, and Spain has also not amazed or anything like that. So these like both of these teams are now faced need to wake up. One of them needs to wake up, and this could even be one of those qualifiers where whoever from this bracket goes into the next round will lose in the next round. It could even be one of those
Yeah,
games. honestly.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
I think,
like Sweden, Ukraine. Now that I look at it, just like Sweden, Ukraine. Honestly, that's
yeah,
one of those ties that it could be that cool. You guys got to the quarters, graceful
now you're
exit.
out. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but I
graceful
mean,
exit.
yeah, I agree. Do you think like with Sweden and Ukraine? Do you think who do you think is gonna pick that one? I'm going for Sweden just simply
Uh,
because I've seen them more.
I'll
That's
go.
all.
Yeah, I would go with Sweden just because of the statistics. But again, I wouldn't be surprised. Like with Wales, Denmark, Sweden, Ukraine, these kind of punchy upstart teams, anything can happen on any given whistle day. Like anything can happen on match day.
Mm, yeah. France and Switzerland. Do we
I just hope,
need to
by the
talk?
way, sorry, with these ones, we even and with the France Switzerland games, I just hope they're entertaining. So even like I'm gonna call France Switzerland, France should win. I just hope they win in an entertaining fashion as opposed to a tight 1-0, edgy affair. Even Wales,
Yeah.
Denmark, Sweden, Ukraine, the like smaller teams, I just want good football, like forward moving football. But France
Mm,
Switzerland, I think France.
yeah, with less diving. I agree. I think France is gonna come through that one. It'd be fun to see an upset though. It would throw the whole tournament into whack if Switzerland won. It would be nice, but I think that France
Nice
looks
for
very
you.
strong.
I like France. So
I
like
like France too. I like France too, by the way. I really do like
Like
France.
I want to see the Italy Austria. If we're gonna do the upset, I want to do Italy Austria. I've Italy always poses problems for France.
Well, if I was going for an upset, Netherlands would beat Czech Republic.
Oh,
So
is that the upset?
All right. Well, probably the biggest upset would be if England beat Germany.
We're bringing it home. We're bringing the conversation home. Let's bring it home.
Yeah, we had to round off with England, didn't we? Like,
England, Germany. It's well, I'll say one thing for England from England's perspective. This is the German team I would want to face, or this around this time or last World Cup, this is the German team. They're there for the taking if you're England.
yes, but also as well, you'd have to understand that this is England.
That's the thing,
Like,
bro. It's so
yeah.
juicy. It's so like, yes, like penalties. We need to go down to penalties, and Germany needs to
So,
like.
oh, that would be the funniest thing ever.
That's the
Oh my
dirty
God,
right there,
that
right?
would be so, that's doing them dirty, dude. Like you can't have another like do you know it was really funny. So I was there in '06. They went out against Portugal, penalties. I was there in 2010. I think they went out on penalties a few times basically, right? So when we got to one of the final ones, they were a penalty shootout, and they were so indifferent about one of them that they're just like, yeah, we lost. Like, and you just saw it, it was just so inevitable. They won their last one, which was like everyone was like, oh my God, what have we just seen? Like,
The curse has been
it was
broken.
the curse has been broken, but it would be really funny for Germany to hammer that back. But like, I don't know. I really personally would like England to win. My wife's a big Germany fan, and her family's a big Germany fan, are big Germany fans, so she'd hate to hear me say that, but there is that little bit of personal thing for me where I think it's a little bit funny if England win, but also it's so funny if they lose, because it's coming home. And that's all I can say about it. Like, this is the test for these two teams. They've been like, for example, Spain, like, for example, Portugal. They haven't really convinced. So this is one of the teams that you could see this could be one of the things where they're like either you make a statement or you win for the sake of winning and you out in the next round.
Well, there's one other very juicy sort of underlying story going on here is that you're gonna Low might play Timo Werner, and he's definitely gonna play what's your man's name? Havertz. Both of
Hmm.
those guys play in England, so they know these backs and that defense pretty well. Now, on the opposite side, Southgate refuses to play Sancho.
German, yeah,
German,
or
English,
Bellingham.
German, yes. So would he change that philosophy now just because it's Germany, or do you go with your best 11, your gut 11? Because this Sancho is not part of your gut 11. Don't
which is
don't like,
weird.
sell me
Which
on
is
that
weird.
suddenly.
Look, it's Southgate is very pragmatic. So I have a feeling he will go for a very defensive team. That's just how he is against the big sides. I've never seen him go all gung ho against the big attacking sides. He wants you to be pragmatic. He doesn't want you to go all gung ho. So I have a feeling he will adapt that tactic. He will look at Germany as superior opposition. I, on the other hand, feel that Germany are there for the taking.
But isn't part of the pragmatism to play the German player, to play the players who know the opposition?
Well, there are some people that we know who say that Southgate has no common sense whatsoever. And it does actually make sense for Sancho to play because he plays against German defenses all the time. Like he'll understand how these players play. Bellingham as well, like he knows how to play in Germany. He's had a really good first season at Dortmund. Um, it's hard to say. You never really know with England. Like he surprised everyone by putting Saka in there. And fair play to Saka. He like everyone was giving him stick. Like he's like, how can you start Saka over Sancho? And Saka came out with man of the match. And fair play to him. Like so, I would personally start with Sancho. I think his output is great. He's for a couple of seasons now. He has consistently put out really high numbers. And he's very effective. And he also brings something that Southgate likes. He tracks back quite a lot, which is what the whole thing about the right back situation came about. Is he going to take Trent or not? Well, Sancho would be there to help out. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. You never know with Southgate what he's going to do.
So
How
then
he's
prediction though, England, Germany. You've said that Germany's there for the taking. What's the prediction then?
No, they're there
Well,
for the taking, but it's whether England actually do something against them. I'm gonna go Germany on penalties because I think they're both really bad.
inshallah. I hope so. Germany on penalties. Well, again, I don't think so. I think Germany has the like the pieces. Individual Kai Havertz can do damage. He can score one or two goals if he gets like an opportunity. I think they have individual. They're kind of the opposite. England has
England have individuals though. You can't say they don't. Grealish, they have
no.
Rashford, they have Foden.
England have very talented individuals, but they play very pragmatic football. Germany, the guy still lets the talent speak sometimes. He lets the free flowing football sometimes. So Havertz, if he does make a run and he does it all the time, he could score one, a quick one early on, punch England in the throat, and suddenly everyone has a plan till they get knocked in the mouth. That kind of thing. And I don't see that kind of counter with England. Harry Kane's all
I
over the place right now. He's not getting
Yeah,
servicing.
he's not been great at all. No, he has had some service, but he's not been as effective. Like he had his chance against he had his chance in the last game
Yeah,
against
just before
Portugal.
that half and stuff. But
Yeah,
like, I don't feel he. Although again, Matt Hummels is there for the taking too. If you can exploit that speed, like you can get one or two in there as well with Raheem Sterling. Or it'll be an
yes,
interesting thing. Germany is definitely there. Like this is one of the weaker German teams, if that's a thing ever, if
yes,
that's ever been a thing. But I
it
still
is this
think
tournament.
Germany will win. I do think Germany will
Yeah.
win in normal time, to be honest. 1-0, 2-1 even.
All right. Well, for me, I just don't. Okay, like I just don't see it. I I just because I've not really been impressed. Like I was impressed against Portugal, but then again, I wasn't impressed against Hungary. But then again, saying that, Hungary did play really well. Glorious failure, like we mentioned. So this is the time to really shine. Now we're coming up to the real meat of the tournament. So the knockout phase is here. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, there's some fun. These are some fun matchups. All over the map. There's Belgium, Portugal, Croatia, Spain, England, Germany. There, it's sprinkled on there. It's good. It's very good. Some big tournaments, some big teams, some upsets. It's been a fun tournament. As like choppy as it's been, 2021, it's still been kind of fun.
Yeah, it's good to see fans back. It's actually good to see football, but I feel for the players a little bit about the amount of football that is being played at the same time. At least my summer is full of football. So
Yeah, whatever.
let us guys know in the comments below what you guys think. How are you finding the tournament? Are you enjoying it? Who do you think is going to win in the next matches? And who do you think is going to win the tournament? Thank you all for joining. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.